You do not have to quit your corporate job to start building your business, but you also cannot keep telling yourself that you're going to start whenever you have more time. Because if you're waiting for a wide open calendar, a perfect plan, and zero responsibilities, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. I built my business while I was still having a very demanding corporate leadership role, and I did it for 4 years. And the way I did it was not working every available second, ignoring my family, or pretending that I had unlimited energy. I built it by being intentional about what mattered, what moved the needle, and what I was no longer willing to leave to chance. So if you're a high achieving leader with a full-time job and a full life and a business idea that will not leave you alone, I guarantee this video is for you. I'm gonna share the 5 things, yes, the 5 things that I actually did to build while I was still employed, including the one investment that changed everything I believe it was possible at that time. Hola, I'm Jenny Lopez, your Latina leadership mentor and former Fortune 500 executive. I'm a best-selling author and also the woman behind Intentional Unicorn. I help leaders turn their experiences, their gifts, and leadership into businesses that have clarity, they have confidence and integrity. And I want to say this at the very beginning because this is not a video for you to say, hey, resign tomorrow. For me, building while I was still employed was a very strategic chapter, and it allowed me to learn, to validate, and build proof before I did my transition. So your timeline will be your own, but the principles that I'm gonna share here are gonna help you. I told you I was gonna share the 5 things. So thing number 1, I stopped finding time and I started scheduling what I call CEO time. So the first thing I did was stop treating my business like something I will get to it whenever I had leftover time. This whole thing about leftover time is a lie. If you have a demanding corporate role, a family, and a real life, there's always something that can take the time that you hope to use for your dream, right? So I scheduled it. When I was going through certifications and trainings and classes, I had specific blocks on my calendar. I was very, very meticulous about it. Maybe it was a Tuesday or Thursday evening. Maybe it was 7 to 9. Whatever the schedule was, it was not just a vague promise to myself. It was an actual appointment schedule. I followed through. I also worked with coaches and I had a rhythm with them. I knew what deliverables I was accountable for, so I blocked time ahead of time to complete them. And I want you to hear the language I use with myself, because this was not like catch up time with my little project. This was CEO time. That distinction matters, because when you call it CEO time, you show up differently. You do not spend 2 hours scrolling on another logo idea. You work on a specific deliverable that moves your business forward. And at the very beginning of each month, I plan ahead my key milestones for the month. At the very beginning of the week, on Sunday, I chose the needle movers for that week. Not 20 things, the few things that will actually create progress. And maybe your needle mover this week is to talk to 5 potential clients. Maybe it is to write your first offer, and maybe it's to record your first video. Maybe it's to ask for those first 3 referrals. The question is not, what can I get done? But the question is, what is the one action that makes the rest of this week easier, clearer, and more possible? That is how you build a business in small windows of time. You don't just work more, you work on what matters, and that's a clear distinction. Okay, thing number 2, I protected family time with the same intention. Now, I do not want you to hear schedule CEO time and think I'm telling you to turn every night and weekend into work, because that's not it. I was focused mostly on late nights and some weekends, yes, that fit my rhythm at the time. But I also protected my family time. And not in vague, whenever you say, oh, I should spend more time with my family. I schedule actual life. Like, we're going to the movies, we're going to the pool, we are gonna have a little, getaway weekend, we're gonna have dinner. We are doing this thing on this day at this time. That mattered because I did not want my family to get whatever was left of me after corporate and business took everything else, right? So here's the truth. When you are building something meaningful, you need more than a calendar. You need a life that can hold the dream. I did not experience building my business as something that drained all of my energy. In many ways, it actually energized me because the impact was so fulfilling. But I was also very choosy with my yeses. I did not say yes to everything. I knew that if I wanted to build a new chapter without resenting it, I had to protect my priorities and purpose. So please do not copy somebody else's late night schedule because it looks impressive online. Find your own rhythm. Then build a calendar that has room for your business and the people and experiences that fill your cup. Thing number 3, I built a personal brand before I needed a business. I actually did that before I even knew I was going to build a business. I started showing up online as a personal brand, not because I had a polished offer, not because I had a website, I didn't even have that, and not because I had this big launch plan. I started because I wanted for a Latina voice to be there empowering leaders, and I was sharing what I was learning. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I was speaking honestly out of servant leadership, and I was creating content consistently because I care about helping people. I care about people not thinking that they need to fit somebody else's definition of success. And at that time, I did not know that that will become the foundation of my business. And that is why I tell my leaders, build your personal brand before you're desperate for it. No pressure. Build it when you're still learning. Build it while you still have the security of your job. Build it while you can still show up organically and serve without every post needing to make a sale, because trust takes time. Okay, when I was ready to build something more formal, I was not starting from zero in terms of people awareness. People already knew what I care for, and they knew about my leadership experience. They knew what I stood for. So your personal brand is not about becoming an influencer, like my kids sometimes think that's what I do. It is about becoming more visible for the value that you already carry. You don't need a fancy setup to begin, okay? You just need a point of view, a commitment to serve, and the courage to be consistent. Okay, thing number 4 is that I validated before I built anything fancy. This is where I see a lot of leaders wasting so much time. They think they need a website and the cards, and they think they need like the perfect logo, and they need the perfect brand photos and the perfect program name and everything, perfect everything. I did not start there. Business-wise, the first thing that I did was to be very clear on my ideal client. Who was this person? Who was this leader? Who was she at that point in my journey? What does she need right now that I was genuinely equipped to help her with? And then I created an offer and treated it like proof of concept. Not a forever offer, not the perfect offer, just proof of concept. And I reached out to people out of my organic network, right? Through Facebook, LinkedIn, relationships with people that I already knew. I started conversations with women who could benefit from the work that I was doing. And that's it. No fancy website at that point, no pretending I had it all figured out, just clarity, a real need, and an invitation. And I want you to hear this because it can save you months. Your first offer is not a tattoo, like permanent, right? It is a test, and you're allowed to learn. You're allowed to evolve your ideal client. You're allowed to listen to the people you serve and adjust. But you cannot refine an offer that you had never put into the world in the first place. So before you build the beautiful website and all that stuff, right? Like build a conversation. Before you create the 12 module course, solve one real problem at a time for one person. Bottom line, before you worry about scaling, like create proof. That's your number 1 priority. Thing number 5 was very important. I treated integrity as part of the strategy. And I need to talk about something that most people skip when they tell you to build on the side, and it's the gray areas. For me, my leadership knew that I had this side business, coaching, speaking, empowering people, right? Business. And I had an approved conflict of interest arrangements. Like there was no problem with that. But even with that transparency, there were still a lot of fine lines to navigate. There was a lot that was not perfectly, black and white. And I will be honest, that was the most draining part of doing both. And it was not the energy, it was not the time. It was constantly thinking through the boundaries and making sure that I was acting with integrity in both worlds. So here's my encouragement to you. Do not build your future by putting your current reputation at risk. So read your employment agreement, understand your employer's policies, keep your business activities separate from the company time and the company equipment and the company clients and confidential information. And honestly, if you need clarity about a policy or agreement, like ask the appropriate people where you work for guidance. Your situation may be very different from mine. So this is not a one-size-fits-all answer. But I want you to understand this. Integrity is not a limitation on your strategy. It is a strength. It's a foundation of your strategy. You can build something meaningful without hiding or compromising or creating a mess that you will have to clean up later. And when I did that transition, gaining freedom from all of those gray areas was actually one of the most liberating parts. Now, if you ask me about, I got this question the other day, but Jenny, can you think of one action that was your accelerator? And I thought for a second, and then of course I knew what it was. The biggest needle mover in my journey was when I invested $30,000 in an amazing coach. And let me be clear, I did not have $30,000 just sitting there waiting for me, okay? Before that, I had invested $6,000 in my first coach, and even that felt like a huge amount of money. So when I had the opportunity to come to invest at that next level, I had a real decision to make. I had to become resourceful. Not reckless, but resourceful. I had to ask, I do not have this available in the way I wish I did, so how can I responsibly make this happen? What can I change? What can I create? What needs to become a priority? And when I made that decision, I went all in. Honestly, after that investment, of course I'm gonna go all in. And I learned so much. My knowledge expanded, my skills expanded, my confidence expanded, the way I saw myself expanded. And that is the part that people miss when they talk about return on investment. A return on investment is not always, I paid this amount, so I need to have that exact amount in my pocket tomorrow. Sometimes the return is the person you become because you chose to invest, implement, and stretch and rise to the next level. That investment helped me see that I could build up to like 120K while I was still having a corporate job. And once I saw that, the question changed. It was no longer, can I possibly make this work? It became, if I can create that level of growth part-time, imagine how much I can do if I can just focus on that. So now I am not telling you to invest $30,000 in a coach. Like, that's not the lesson. The lesson is to stop believing that the only investment you can make is the one that feels comfortable. The right investment at the right time with due diligence and a responsible plan can accelerate what years of trying to figure out alone might not. So invest in your capability, invest in your skills, invest in the woman that you are becoming. See, I originally thought that I would do both forever. I thought I would keep building on the side until I could retire early, but over the time, the business gave me something that corporate could not. And I'm not talking about the money. It's more growth in every sense. Personal growth, leadership growth, impact growth, financial growth. And the more I built, the clearer it became that I was not choosing between a safe plan and a risky one, right? I was choosing which future had the greatest potential to grow me into the woman I was called to become. And I chose the business. You do not have to make that choice today, but you can begin creating options today. And that is what building on the side did for me. It did not force me to leave before I was ready. It gave me confidence. It gave me capability. It gave me options. So let me recap these 5 things that made it possible for me to build the business while I'm still working full time. First, I stopped hoping for spare time, right? I scheduled CEO time. Second, I protected my family and my life with the same intention. And then number third, oh my goodness, did I just say that? Third, I built trust through my personal brand before I even needed a business. Fourth, I validated a real offer before building anything fancy. And then fifth, I treated integrity as a foundation of my strategy. And then I accelerated my growth by investing in skills, support, and the identity that was required for me to go to the next level. So if you're still in corporate and building something on the side, tell me in the comments, what is the one needle mover this week that you're gonna go for? Not the whole plan, okay? One move. And if you want a community of leaders who are turning their corporate experiences into something of their own, join me in my free community, and the link is in the description. And make sure you subscribe so you can get these honest and practical videos on how to build your business with clarity, confidence, and no burnout. I am Jenny Lopez, I am your leadership mentor, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Adios!